Hello, my name is Robbie. Can you tell me your full name, please?
My name is Asya Sidokhina.
And can you tell me where you're from?
I am from Moscow in Russia.
Okay. And can I see your identification, please? Okay, thank you very much. Now, in this first part, I'd like to know a little bit about yourself. So to begin with, tell me a little about your garden, or a garden you know well.
Well, I live in an apartment, so I don't have a garden. However, I have a favorite park. It's my favorite park because my first school was located at the edge of the park and had a back door which would lead into the center of the park, which I loved very much. So in break, recess, or field trips, we would go to the park, and we would always have like games and stuff like that. And these memories, I really like them. So.
Okay. And so if you had a garden, would you prefer a flower garden or a vegetable garden?
I'm not sure which one, but I would say vegetable garden because, well, there's a vegetable garden gives you a product which you can also use, or is it nutrition, so you can eat it and you can see it grow, and the process you can see it, while a flower garden is just well, grass or plants just there. So.
Okay. Why do you think so many people like gardening?
Maybe it connects them with the nature, and they find it relaxing or interesting hobby for them. I don't know, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd like to move on to talk about pets. Do you have a pet?
Yes, I have a dog.
You have a dog. Okay. Why do so many people like to have pets?
They're man's best friend, I guess. So they're great companions. That you can teach them. You can travel with them, and they will always stay your friend and always part of your family. So.
And how do people's lives change when they have a pet?
Well, the responsibility changes a lot. They have a responsibility of a new life. They have to take care of the pet, feed it, walk it, especially dogs. And of course, each pet has its own requirements. There are also special pets who maybe have illnesses, or other pets who are more active or something, which need more exercise.
Okay. What can people learn from animals?
Patience.
Yeah.
Patience, and well, people with temper can they can learn to calm it down, because sometimes pets, when they don't listen, you get frustrated, and then you really want to do something so the pet starts listening to you. Well, you can learn patience, so that the pet is like a child; it needs time to learn. So. Okay.
Right. I'd like now to ask some questions about marriage. What traditions are involved with marriage in your country?
In Russia, mostly, like many other countries, the man proposes. Mostly it's a traditional wedding in a church, mostly Orthodox. And there would always be a reception at the end with a lot of dancing, traditional foods. Yes. Okay.
Do you think that people meeting on the internet can lead to a good marriage?
It depends what kind of person it is, or kind of people it is. If it's a correct match, why not? Of course. If it's just the beginning of a relationship. It's like meeting someone on the street and asking them to go for a coffee or something. It just starts from the internet. It doesn't really matter.
What are your feelings about arranged marriages?
I'm absolutely against them. I think that a person should have his or her own choice of who he or she wants to spend their entire life with. So I think that it's not the parents' responsibility or choice, but it should be the person who wants to get married, who is in love with this person to get married, and not because they're supposed to.
Okay. And what are people's attitudes to divorce in your country?
Almost like any other. I mean, it's always either the man or the woman, or both. It just doesn't work in marriage. There's no real difference to other countries. Divorce, you go to, you get documents, you sign them, and that's pretty much it. So.
Okay. Right, now I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. And before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say, and you can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, so here is your topic, and take a minute to Okay. Thank you. Now, you've only got 1 to 2 minutes. Don't worry if I stop you.
Okay. No
Okay, off you go.
So the child I'm going to talk about is my brother. His name is Boris Sidokhin. He's 13 years old and 2 years younger than me. Is in the same school as I, in the 8th grade. Yes, he speaks the same languages as me: English, Russian, and German. Over the past year or two, he started to grow extremely. Now he's almost the same size, almost higher than me, which a little freaks me out because, well, he's always my small brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been the tiny one. He's extremely athletic. Plays soccer. It's his favorite sport. He's been playing soccer since he was 5. Every day after school, he has training with my father, who is enthusiastic about his passion.
Mm-hmm.
Because of his sports enthusiasm and soccer, he's extremely thin,
Mm-hmm.
very bony. He's, as I said before, he's my size. He has blonde hair as me. He has blue eyes and looks a lot like my mom. Well, he's always been my kid brother, so I always loved him a lot. Of course, he gets annoying sometimes, as most small brothers do. For example, there was a story when he was 2, I was 4.
Mm-hmm.
We were walking down the street, and as every child, he gets tired of walking himself, so he starts crying, and then apparently he sits down on the pavement on the side of on the middle of the road, and as normal parents, he would my mom says, "Okay, you want to stay here, please? We're gonna go." So she took my hand and she told me to walk forward while my brother just sat on the pavement in the back. I started to get scared that my mom would actually leave my brother there, so I would start crying myself and sit down on the pavement and wait until my mom would
Okay, thank you. And do you think you'll continue to get on with him as you get older?
Hopefully, if he accepts me.
Okay. Right, I'd like to ask now some questions related to this topic. So to begin with, I'd like to talk about childhood. So what kind of things make up a happy childhood?
A happy childhood comes firstly from the parents. That's my opinion. So if the parents are enthusiastic and happy and about having a child and giving the child the best that they can, then there's no better childhood that you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what kind of things should parents do to be good role models for their children?
They must be responsible and responsible for their own sake. As parents that are not responsible would go drinking and would sometimes even hurt their children, which I think is absolutely irresponsible and should be illegal everywhere. So parents should be responsible and take care of their children and only want the best for them.
Okay, what things have you learned from your childhood about bringing up a child?
It's extremely hard.
Yeah.
Yes, every child varies. So if a child is like their parents, then it's easier for them to confide in them and to relate to them, so they would know what to do. For example. However, there are different kinds of children, so you never know. You can't exactly say it.
Okay. And how has childhood changed since you were young?
Well, I am on the last brick of the century or the generation where technology hasn't taken out everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was younger, I still had wooden or dolls and toys like that, while the generation that is coming after me or right now will have only technology, computer screens, video games, which is kind of scary.
Yeah. Okay, I'll move on now to talk about growing up. What are some of the challenges of growing up in your country nowadays?
Well, in Russia, especially in Moscow, it's a very large city. So, so it's so crowded or extremely crowded that the apartments aren't as big as they would be in other countries. I guess the environment is much different. It's more polluted. It's so many cars, so many people. It's dangerous. So children need to grow up a little more go out alone than they would in other safer countries.
Okay. How do parents punish their children in your country, in Russia?
When there's punishment, it gets really loud.
Okay.
Especially with the mother and the daughter, from my own experience. Sometimes also a physical punishment. Not terrible physical beating, but sometimes, slap on the butt on a small kid or tugging of the ear.
Okay.
Something like that is appropriate.
Okay. How do you feel about corporal punishment for children?
Well, from my opinion, it's horrible and should be banished from everywhere. Against never, ever, ever. So I think that's not yes, you have a temper, but you shouldn't take it out on your children. If they annoy you, well, that's what children are there for, to annoy you. So you can't change it.
And finally, how do you think the challenge of growing up will change over the next 20 years?
Well, as I said before, technology will take over the world fully, and the children will become lazier, won't want to work, will have to stay with their parents, and won't accomplish as much as maybe the generations before us. So that's my worry.
Okay. Right, thank you very much. That's the end of the test.
Okay, so here is a complete sample, and it actually starts off with the introduction, which comes before part 1. And this is not something you often hear, so let's have a listen to this.
Hello, my name is Robbie. Can you tell me your full name, please?
My name is Asa Sidoshina.
And can you tell me where you're from?
I am from Moscow in Russia.
Okay. And can I see your identification, please? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so here where the examiner says, okay, thank you very much, this is where part 1 begins. And then they're going to go on to the first part. So during this first part, basically they just want you to say your full name. They want to check your ID. They don't want to shake your hands. Please don't try to shake hands with the examiner. That's not what they're there for. Okay, and here the examiner introduces part 1.
Now in this first part, I'd like to know a little bit about yourself. So to begin with, tell me a little about your garden, or a garden you know well.
Now it's a little bit of a strange topic, because usually they start off by asking you about your home, or asking about what you do, but in this case it's a garden.
Well, I live in an apartment, so I don't have a garden. However, I have a favorite park. It's my favorite park because my first school was located at the edge of the park and had a back door which would lead into the center of the park, which I loved very much.
Let's just see how long this sentence is. So here, okay, I guess the is not really a word, but it's my favorite park because my school was located at the edge of the park and it had a back door which would lead to the center of the park, which I loved very much. It's a really long sentence. There are no mistakes in that. Grammar is really good, and you can see the same thing here. It's such a long sentence.
So in break, recess, or field trips, we would go to the park, and we would always have games and stuff like that.
But then she says in break, which should be during breaks. So during breaks or recesses or field trips. Notice this isn't the plural, but these are singular. That doesn't make sense, right? Still, it's a very small mistake.
Games and stuff like that, and these memories, I really like them. So.
Okay. And so if you had a garden, would you prefer a flower garden or a vegetable garden?
I'm not sure which one, but I would say vegetable garden.
Notice here she says would, because the question is a hypothetical question. If you had a garden, would you prefer? And then she uses the same words to talk about a hypothetical situation.
Say vegetable garden because, there's a vegetable garden gives you a product which you can also use or is it nutrition? So you can eat it and you can see it grow, and the process you can see it. While a flower garden is just.
Okay, so a few mistakes here. Nothing too serious. Like here, she says, "Well, there's vegetable garden gives you." Maybe a vegetable garden. This word I couldn't make out. Something before nutrition. And so you can eat it and you can see grow. But see is a verb, grow is a verb. This should be growth. You can see growth. You need a noun there. Here's the other noun, process.
Well, a flower garden is just grass or plants just there. So.
Okay.
The guy kind of interrupts her here. I don't think she was finished talking yet. The examiner shouldn't interrupt you while you're talking, but if you are unlucky enough to get someone who does that, maybe the examiner is concerned about the time. They don't want you to speak for too long on one topic. That's why. If they do interrupt you, it doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong. It's just that the examiner wants to move on to another topic. Although in this case, I don't know why, because her answers are not that long. But you should keep in mind that in part 1 of the test there are 11 questions, and you just have 5 minutes, and the examiner wants you to speak on as many topics as possible. Maybe also you notice this woman's fluency is very good. The speed at which she delivers her answers is really good. She sounds very fluent. The pace at which she speaks is great.
Why do you think so many people like gardening?
Maybe it connects them with the nature, and they find it relaxing, or a hobby for them. I don't know, maybe.
Okay, just a few things. Nature doesn't take an article, so there's no the. So maybe it connects them with nature. They find it relaxing or interesting hobby. Hobbies are countable nouns, so an interesting hobby. Now, she doesn't know the reason. If you don't know, say you don't know. She took a guess. Do the same thing. Maybe the examiner is going to ask you some questions on things that you don't know the answer to. If you don't know the answer to it, there's nothing wrong with being honest. Just take a guess.
So I'd like to move on to talk about pets. Do you have a pet?
Yes, I have a dog.
You have a dog. Okay.
Wow, he went right in there. He didn't really give her a chance to talk about her dog. This is kind of strange. I don't know why he started talking after she just said 4-5 words. The examiner is going to give you a chance to speak. They're not going to jump in like this guy.
Okay. Why do so many people like to have pets?
They're men's best friend, I guess. So.
I don't know what this word is.
They're great companions. That you can teach them.
Notice her intonation. They're great companions. Her voice rises. That you can teach them. Her voice rises. Her voice rises at the end of each idea to show that there are more ideas coming after this.
You can travel with them, and they will always stay your friend and always part of your family. So.
Mm-hmm.
And he while she's talking. Examiners will usually be quiet while you're talking, and they're not gonna Okay, so far her fluency, her pronunciation really good, grammar pretty good, vocabulary also pretty good.
And how do people's lives change when they have a pet?
Well, the responsibility changes a lot. They have a responsibility of a new life.
They have a responsibility for a new life. Maybe let's change this to they are responsible for a new life. You're responsible for certain things.
They have to take care of the pet, feed it, walk it, especially dogs. And of course, each pet has its own requirements. There are also special pets who maybe have illnesses, or other pets who are more active or something, which need more exercise.
Okay. What can people learn from animals?
Patience.
Yeah.
Patience and, well, people with temper can, temper, they need.
Tempers are also countable nouns, so people with a temper. We don't need the they there, so people with a temper need to. We don't need two subjects. We don't need people with a temper and then also the pronoun they. Get rid of the pronoun.
They can learn to calm it down, because sometimes pets, when
Learn to calm it down. Now, I don't know if the it refers to the pet. If the it refers to the temper, well, then we don't need to say the it. You can learn to calm down, meaning yourself. You don't need the it. You yourself calm down.
learn to calm it down, because sometimes pets, when they don't listen, you get frustrated, and then you really want to, do something so the pet starts listening to you. Well, you can learn patience. That the pet is like a child; it needs time to learn.
Sounds like she started banging on the table. I guess she really believes in what she says. Again, we see here the sentences are pretty long and there are a few minor errors, but not a whole lot. So the grammar here is strong.
Okay. Right, I'd like now to ask some questions about marriage.
Alright, so here's the topic, marriage. And the first question,
What traditions are involved with marriage in your country?
In Russia, mostly, like many other countries, the man proposes.
here's a word we don't see so much, proposes. And then she talks about the Orthodox Church, which I guess a lot of people don't know. But if you're Russian, maybe this is not such a unfamiliar word.
Mostly it's a traditional wedding in a church, mostly Orthodox. And there would always be a reception at the end with a lot of dancing, traditional foods.
Reception is a good word. Reception here referring to kind of like a party.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that people meeting on the internet can lead to a good marriage?
It depends what kind of person it is, or kind of people it is. If it's a correct match.
Okay. So first she goes with what kind of person it is, or what kind of people it is. But then she keeps the it is, what kind of people they are.
Why not, of course?
If it's a correct match. The word we usually use with match is good. Two people are a good match, not a correct match.
If it's a correct match, why not, of course? If it's just the beginning of a relationship. It's like meeting someone on the street and asking them to go for a coffee or something. Just start from the internet.
Okay, so here we see some disfluency, but I think this is more to do with her thinking about the idea than her thinking about the language. There's a difference between hesitation related to you looking for language and hesitation when you are looking for ideas.
Your feelings about arranged marriages?
I'm absolutely against them. I think that
Okay, so here we see the first mispronunciation. She said against instead of against.
the person should have his or her own choice of who he or she wants to spend their entire life with.
Alright, here's just an idea. If you're going to say his or her, why don't we just say they? So it's their own choice of who they want to spend their entire life with. That just saves you from saying the his or her or the he or she.
So I think that it's not the parents' responsibility or choice, but it should be the person who wants to get married, who's in love with this person to get married, and not because they're supposed to.
Okay. And what are people's attitudes to divorce in your country?
Almost like any other, it's always either the man or the woman or both.
I'm not sure what this means. What are people's attitudes towards divorce? It's always either the man or the woman or both. That doesn't explain to me how people feel about divorce. Maybe she's talking about who's responsible for the divorce.
Or both. It just doesn't work
Mm-hmm.
in marriage. There's no real difference to other countries. Divorce, you go to, you get documents, you sign them, and that's pretty much it.
I think maybe the question more refers to how much of a taboo divorce is in your country. Like, how willing are people to get divorced? All right, here's the introduction to part 2.
Okay. Right, now I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. And before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say and you can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, so here is your topic and take a minute to...
I don't know what take a minute to what. The wording here is a little bit different from what it usually is. Here's the 1 minute preparation. And then he says...
Okay, now you've only got 1 to 2 minutes. Don't worry if I stop you.
Okay.
Okay, off you go.
Off you go. That's also a little bit different. Now, I don't know what the topic is because we're going to have to listen to what she says and see if we can tell what the topic is. So maybe this is a good test to see how good her introduction is. If her introduction is very clear, it should be easy to know what the topic is.
So the child I'm going to talk about
Okay, so she's going to talk about a child.
is my brother. His name is Boris Sidokhin. He's 13 years old and 2 years younger than me.
That's a bit weird. She doesn't sound like a 15-year-old. I would have thought that she's older.
Is in the same school as I, in the 8th grade. Yes, he speaks.
Since we're talking about grades here, just remember if you're in university, it's years, not grades. Grades are only for elementary, junior high, and senior high.
The same languages as me: English, Russian, and German.
Let's just listen to that again.
Yes, he speaks the same languages as me.
Same languages as me. Notice how the languages and the as and the me are connected. Languages as me. She doesn't say languages as me. They're not 3 distinct words. The 3 words flow together. They're connected.
English, Russian, and German. Over the past year.
She just did something very good, but then she does this.
Year or 2, he started to grow extremely. Now he's
Started to grow extremely. I feel like there's a word missing there. Maybe tall. Because this adverb needs to go with something. And if we say he started to extremely grow, or he started to grow extremely, it sounds a bit strange. I think the extremely should go with an adjective, tall. He started to grow extremely tall.
almost the same size, almost higher than me.
Taller than me. People are tall. People are not high. Well, most people.
Which a little freaks me out.
Some word order here. Which freaks me out a little. It's not a huge deal. Freaks me out a little.
Which a little freaks me out because, well, he's always my small brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been the tiny one.
She refers to her brother with that. He's always been my small brother. Who's always been the tiny one? Who, not that.
He's extremely athletic.
Okay, athletic is good. She likes to use adverbs. Here we have extremely again.
Plays soccer. It's his favorite sport. He's been playing soccer since he was 5.
Notice the present perfect continuous. He's been V-I-N-G.
Every day after school he has training with my father.
He has training. Okay.
Who's enthusiastic with about his passion.
Mm-hmm.
Because of his sports enthusiasm and soccer, he's extremely thin, very bony.
Bony, that's a great word. Skinny.
He's, as said before, he's my size. He has blonde hair as me. He has
blonde hair as me. He has blonde hair the same as me. Or he has the same kind of blonde hair as I do. But not he has blonde hair as me.
He has blue eyes and looks a lot like my mom. Well, he's always been my kid brother, so I always loved him a lot.
I don't know what that word is. Is that Russian? I'm not sure.
He's always been my kid brother, so I always loved him.
He's always been my something. I can't make out what the word is.
A lot. Of course, he gets annoying sometimes, as most small brothers do. For example, there was a story when he was 2, I was 4.
Well, if there was a story, how are you telling the story now? So there is a story, or I can tell you a story about something that happened when he was 2 and I was 4. Maybe something like that, but not there was a story when he was 2, I was 4. There's a story I can tell you about this.
Walking down the street, and as every child, he gets tired of walking himself, so he starts crying, and then apparently he sits down on the pavement.
I don't know why she uses the word apparently. I mean, she was there. Didn't she see what happened? We use apparently for things that seem to be true, but about which we are not 100% sure.
Apparently he sits down on the pavement.
Now, when we tell stories, it's okay to use the present tense. That is, she uses the present tense here. It's not wrong. Often when we tell stories, even if they happened in the past, people do use the present tense, or sometimes even the present continuous tense, to tell stories.
It's down on the pavement on the side of, on the middle of the road, and as normal parents, my mom says.
Okay, so there's a bit of confusion here between the brother and the mom, who is doing what.
Okay, you want to stay here, please? We're gonna go. So she took my hand and.
But now she goes back to the past tense.
She told me to walk forward while my brother just sat on the pavement in the back.
She told me to walk forward. She told me to walk ahead.
I started to get scared that my mom would actually leave my brother there, so I would start crying myself and sit down.
Now she said the brother walked himself. I guess that's okay because people can carry you. So I would start crying myself. Now, we can use the myself if someone else was crying, but did she say that the brother was crying? Oh, he did start crying. Alright, that's fine. So then I started crying myself. So the brother cried and then she started crying too.
So we leave my brother there, so I would start crying myself, sit down on the pavement and wait until my mom.
Okay, thank you.
Wow, that didn't feel like 2 minutes. Time flew. Yeah, that was 2 minutes. So she told a very interesting story. I think it's a good sign if during your part 2, the examiner or whoever listens to you kind of loses track of time. It means your story is very interesting. I found her story interesting. Okay, so here is the rounding off question.
And do you think you'll continue to get on with him as you get older?
Ooh, they're using some difficult vocabulary in this question. Get on with him. My guess would be a lot of people will misunderstand what this means.
Hopefully, if he accepts me.
Get on. Get on means like to get along with someone. Alright, let's move on to part 3. Let's see how this is introduced.
Okay. Right, I'd like to ask now some questions related to this topic. So to begin with, I'd like to talk about childhood.
Okay, so the first of the 2 topics is childhood.
So what kind of things make up a happy childhood?
A happy childhood comes firstly from the parents.
Okay, so some grammar issues here. We don't need the at. So a happy childhood comes firstly from the parents, maybe.
That's my opinion. So if the parents are enthusiastic and happy and about having a child and giving the child the best that they can, then there's no better childhood that you can think of.
Okay, so some small issues with articles again. So like here, and giving the child. Children accountable. I noticed that she likes to end her answers by just saying so. Nothing wrong with that, it's just kind of interesting.
Think of. So
What kind of things should parents do to be good role models for their children?
they must be responsible and responsible for their own sake. As parents that are not responsible would go drinking and would sometimes even hurt their children, which I think is absolutely irresponsible and should be illegal everywhere.
Sometimes she's very fluent, like here when she talked about being absolutely irresponsible. That was very fluent. But then there are other times, like here when she started talking about responsibility, it seems like she had some difficulty expressing her ideas. Not that serious, but still there are some issues there.
So not responsible would go drinking and would sometimes even hurt their children, which I think is absolutely irresponsible and should be illegal everywhere. So parents should be responsible and take care of their children and only want the best for them.
Wow, she really used the word responsible a lot. But the ideas are solid. I do like this phrase, and only want the best for them. That's a good phrase to use. I think all parents should want that for their children. Next question.
Okay, what things have you learned from your childhood about bringing up a child?
This is kind of a weird question for part 3. But, okay.
Up a child.
It's extremely hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this guy keeps on making comments while she's speaking. I don't know why he's doing this.
Every child varies, so if it's
Every child is different. Not every child varies.
if a child is like their parents, then it's easier for them to confine in them and to.
The word is confide, not confine. Confine and confide are very different meanings.
Relate to them so they would know what to do, for example. However, there are different kind of children, so you never know. You can't exactly say it.
Okay.
You can't exactly say it. I don't know what she means by that. You can't exactly tell. That would be the right way to say it. You can't tell exactly. But you can't exactly tell what. What kind of child you have? I don't know what this last part refers to. You can't exactly say it. What does the it mean? I mean, she uses the wrong words to express the idea, but even so, what does the it refer to? Does she mean you can't tell what kind of child you're going to have? Or what kind of child you have? Because why not? Parents know their children.
You say it.
Okay. And how has childhood changed since you were young?
Well, I am on the last brick of the century where.
I don't know if this is a Russian expression, but I don't understand what this means. I'm on the last brick of the century. What? Does she mean she was born at the turn of the century? I don't know. I'm not familiar with this expression.
Or the generation where technology hasn't taken out everything.
Where technology hasn't taken out everything. I don't know what that means either. Does she mean where technology has replaced everything? Maybe replaced, not taken out?
So when I was younger, I still had wooden or dolls and toys like that. While the generation that is coming after me, or right now, will have only technology, computer screens, video games, which is kind of scary.
Why? Why is it scary? I feel like these answers are not really well explained. And this guy is not asking her to clarify what she says. if somebody gave me an answer like that, I would say, why is it scary? But he's happy to move on to the next question. So here is the next question.
Okay, move on now to talk about...
Oh, not next question, next topic. So here's the second topic.
About growing up. What are some of the challenges of growing up in your country nowadays?
Well, in Russia, especially in Moscow, it's a very large city.
In Russia, it's a very large city. Especially in Moscow. This doesn't change the fact that this "it" refers to Russia, and Russia is not a city.
So, so it's so crowded, or extremely crowded, that the apartments aren't as big as they would be in other countries. I guess the environment is much different. It's more polluted. It's so many
cars. Let's change this to there are so many cars.
So many people. It's dangerous. So children need to grow up a little more go out alone than they would in other safe countries.
Okay.
Children would need to grow up a little bit more. Does that mean that parents generally wait until their children are a little bit older before they allow them to go out? Because of the pollution. What are the reasons? What makes it dangerous? The environment. It's crowded. There are a lot of people, so it's dangerous. Okay. Alright. So maybe parents are a little bit more hesitant about letting their children go around by themselves out in the city. I don't know if that's true. I've seen a lot of videos of Russian kids doing crazy things outside. But hey, that's her opinion, and that's fine. Okay, and here's the next question.
How do parents punish their children in your country, in Russia?
When there's punishment, it gets really loud.
Okay.
Especially with the mother and the daughter, from my own experience. Sometimes also physical punishment.
Physical punishment is a good word to use. Or phrase, I should say.
Not terrible physical beating, but sometimes, I don't know, slap on the butt on a small kid or...
Maybe instead of saying it like this, maybe she should have said slapping a small kid on the butt.
Or tugging of the ear.
Okay.
Something like that is appropriate.
Oh.
How do parents punish? Well, since this question should be answered from the perspective of parents, right? So maybe just here, where she says is appropriate, because if you say something is appropriate, you are discussing the issue from your own point of view. So maybe here she should have said something like that is considered appropriate. Then we know that most people consider it to be appropriate, instead of just saying it is appropriate.
Okay. How do you feel about corporal punishment?
I don't know what the guy says at the end here, but anyway, corporal punishment is like physical punishment, especially maybe in school.
How do you feel about corporal punishment?
What is that last thing? In general?
Well, from my opinion, it's horrible and should be banished from everywhere.
It should be banned everywhere, not from everywhere.
Against never, ever, ever. So I think that...
Against never, ever, ever? I don't know what that means.
That's not to... Yes, you have a temper, but you shouldn't take it out on your children.
Ooh, this is good. Take it out on your children. So, if you have a temper and you take out the temper, or you take it out on your children, it means that you direct that anger towards your kids.
If they annoy you, well, that's what children are there for, to annoy you. So
Okay.
you can't change it.
And finally,
This guy keeps on talking over her. Oh my goodness.
how do you think the challenge of growing up will change over the next 20 years?
Here we have that specific time period again. To me, that's still weird.
Well, as I said before, technology will take over the world fully, and the children will become lazier, won't want to work, will have to stay with their parents, and
Okay, now that's fine. But if you're going to say that technology is going to make children lazier and won't make them want to work, maybe explain that a little bit. How does technology make people lazy? And how does technology make people not want to work? Expand on that.
will have to stay with their parents and won't accomplish as much as maybe the generations before us. So that's my worry.
Okay. Right, thank you very much. That's the end of the test.
Let's look at the band descriptors. Here we have fluency and coherence at a band 8. They mention occasional repetition and self-correction, and how hesitation is usually content related and rarely to search for language. I think this is true. But then the second point, develops topics coherently and appropriately. I think her topic development was lacking, especially in part 3. So it's got to be a 7. Here is lexical resource, band 8. Uses a wide vocabulary resource readily and flexibly to convey precise meaning. I don't think it was all that flexible. I don't think it was all that precise. Occasional inaccuracies. I think it was more than just occasional. So for lexical resource, again, it's got to be a 7. Here's grammar at a band 8. Uses a wide range of structures flexibly. I think that's probably true. Produces a majority of error-free sentences. Well, we can't say that that's true. There were just too many mistakes. Very occasional inappropriacies. No, I think it was more than just very occasional. So for grammar also, it's got to be a 7. Here is pronunciation, band 8. Uses a wide range of pronunciation features. I think that's probably true. Sustains flexible use of features. Well, I don't think this is true. She did use some of the features, but the use was not really sustained. And we can't say that there were only occasional lapses. She was pretty easy to understand throughout. Her accent didn't really affect her intelligibility, but the features were not sustainably used. So pronunciation also 7.